Hello everyone and welcome back to another Tech Brews Games video bringing you some city skylines. Today we're going to go over the top 10 mods to help you improve your gaming experience with city skylines and helping you out with some of the day-to-day basics. There's a lot of mods out there for city skylines, and looking at the workshop page it can definitely be overwhelming. So today we're going to go over just some of the top 10 best ones that really help you out with your gaming in helping you manage your cities a little bit better. Then we'll also do another video where we go over the top 10 graphic enhancing mods to either help you make your game look better or to help your computer's performance out. Mod number 1 for helping you with your gaming: City Vitals. This one I could not speak more highly of because of the simplicity of it and how much it really helps you out. What City Vitals does is it takes every single one of your city's aspects that you have to manage, like power, water, sewage, garbage, health, medical, fire, police, education, and puts it all up on one nice little tab for you. The other nice things about this is that you can also go ahead and modify it if you do not want certain aspects on there to go ahead and shorten the list a little bit. So then that way you can really manage what you feel is the most important. Personally, I keep it all up because another part of this mod that is helpful is that the tab is movable, and then otherwise when you do not have the cursor on it, it is transparent, so that way you can still see through it. My only complaint I would say is that there are some times where I may be looking at either the budget or maybe I've got another editor up or something like that, and sometimes it can get in the way. But that is the whole purpose of being able to shorten the list and move it around. So that is mod number 1. The next mod on our list is called Move It. Move It, once downloaded, sits in the bottom right hand corner of the game, and what Move It does is allow you to move any sort of prop, building, node, trees, whatever you really need in the game. So a few things that you can do with it is if you have a section of road, for instance, you have what are called nodes, and then this is the entire line item between nodes. What you can do is, because we don't like this junction, we can actually relocate some of this, go ahead and move out the bend or the I guess the angle of this one piece to make the curve of this just a little bit smoother. And this is going to really help you in just kind of smoothing out, I guess, things that the game wouldn't let you do to begin with in the vanilla version, just to try and make the lines a little bit more natural looking. You can also take nodes and you can move them up and down using the page up and page down arrows. And another thing that you can do is you can move just about any building that you really have. So for instance, like this cemetery right here, where generally you would not be able to move this in the game because it's full. If you use Move It and you go ahead and click on the single selection tab, you can then go ahead and actually move this guy around just about anywhere that you want, so then that way you don't have to empty out the cemetery and then wait later to move it. Another feature that you can use on Move It is selecting large groups of items, nodes, trees, whatever it might be. You can select buildings, props, decals, surfaces, trees, nodes, and segments. So let's just say that you have this group of dead trees because of the industry. On the little selection tab, you can go ahead, double click on trees, and that'll go ahead and select all of them. But you'll notice that it also selects every single tree. You can actually click on this little eyedropper and click on that one specific tree, and then that will help you in narrowing down if you just want those trees removed in this one section rather than removing all breeds of trees. Otherwise, once selected everything, go ahead, hit the bulldoze button, and you can go ahead and just delete everything. You can do the same thing when it comes to buildings if you're just looking to delete all the buildings, or maybe even you want to just get rid of all of the roads in this one section. You can go ahead, click on nodes, and it will delete everything there. So yeah, that's Move It. Next mod that I would recommend is Traffic Manager. Traffic Manager, you definitely need to get used to it, and I would recommend that before you really dive into it and start messing with all of the additional little features of this, that look up some tutorials and listen to some of the professionals on how to really manage the traffic here. But things that you can do, you can turn on and off stoplights, which the game already does that for you, but you can also change the traffic lights, so then that way they are better timed. You can also manual traffic lights, and there's things like lane connectors. Lane connectors can be incredibly useful, especially on highway ramps where maybe you need people to be swapping lanes here a little bit sooner. Maybe we really don't need this middle lane like these guys are doing coming off onto this segment here. So one thing that you could do is just say that people in the right lane can go ahead and take a right, but people in the middle lane cannot, and set something up like this, so then that way people are not cutting across the entire highway from the middle lane. And once you do things like this, it'll go ahead and actually change the arrows for you too. Otherwise, another way that you can do this is just also clicking on the lane arrows here, and then you can decide who's going to turn where and what lanes, and anything that you do, it will go ahead and you will need obviously to turn this guy off, but once you do that, you can go ahead and change these however you want, and you'll notice that the second that you click on it, it changes the arrows right away also. A couple of more useful things with Traffic Manager is when it comes to roundabouts. Roundabouts, there's definitely a hierarchy of rules here, and you can see that a lot of the traffic in the roundabout is stopping because of this traffic light here. So things that you can do is go ahead, turn off the traffic lights. You can use the priority signs to go ahead and just say that the traffic in the roundabout has the right of way. Go ahead, hold down shift, and it'll set that rule for everything in the roundabout basically. Then next, what you can do is click on the junction restrictions, and you have a few options whether you want people to be able to cross the road here, do you want people to be able to lane change, and then who technically actually has the right of way. When you are building a roundabout, you should always have the traffic in the roundabout having the right of way to continue moving around the roundabout, so then that way traffic does not stall in any sort of way. Then a few other things, you can also set the speed limits on certain roads. If you want certain roads to be a little bit faster than other, you can limit vehicle restrictions, and if you want certain roads to be able to have larger trucks or buses. And then also you can design it so then that way certain roads people can't park on. Like for instance, this road, people should not be allowed to park on this road. And then last but not least, if you have a city that is just 100% traffic gridlocked, you can go ahead and clear all traffic. Just know that this also stops all of your shipments from industrial into the commercial zones, and you will not receive payment on those, so expect there to be a drop in your weekly income when you clear the traffic out like this. And as you can see here, it just dropped from 35k down to 28k. So, but that is Traffic Manager for you. Next mod that I would recommend is Kleit's Fine Road Anarchy. Fine Road Anarchy is extremely useful in helping you build your city to place roads pretty much wherever you want. The game can be, I would personally say, pretty unrealistic sometimes when it comes to laying down roads, and some of them actually make sense where you're not allowed to, but for instance, the game will not allow you to place anything like this and bending because of the angles. Go ahead and turn on Fine Road Anarchy, and now you can pretty much place whatever you want wherever you want. And this is definitely useful when it comes to the vanilla version of the game, just not really letting you do what you want to do. The Fine Road Anarchy will help you in especially building out highway sections, so then that way just makes it a little more realistic and a little bit easier to actually build these things out. If there's stuff that the game won't allow you, go ahead and just turn this on, and yeah, it'll fix that entire issue for you. Next mod that is extremely useful is the Roundabout Builder. Roundabout Builder takes the road construction, and you can find Roundabout Builder in the lower left hand corner, but what this will do is just automatically build out roundabouts for you, so you do not need to dig around with them in any sort of way. You have this large list that you can select from for the road type that you want, whether you want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or even 6, even all the way up to 8 lanes if you'd like. And what this will do is you pretty much just select whatever road type you want, click exactly where you want the roundabout, and it'll just go ahead and plop one down for you. You do need to keep in mind though that it will not move buildings for you. So for instance, like this small park, you will need to go ahead and relocate this and replace, I guess, or replop any sort of buildings that you build on top of, and you may need to come back, clean it up a little bit, and delete some buildings and trees and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, for the most part, very, very useful. Roundabouts are a great way to help get rid of traffic. There are some videos out there of people that created entire cities around roundabouts, and it definitely works for the most part, but it's not going to be ideal in every situation. But primarily when it comes to like highway access parts, especially like if they're heavily trafficked, like this one for instance, roundabouts can be very, very useful in just helping push traffic through and getting everyone to where they need to be rather than stop signs or stoplights. Next mod on our list is Toggle It. Toggle It is another little movable bar that basically you get, and what Toggle It does is it allows you to turn on and off certain aspects of the game that are maybe not necessary. This one can really kind of fit in the category of either being a real graphic enhancing mod. Definitely cleans up the game, makes it look better, but I'm putting it in this list of mods for useful ones as a game performance or a game enhancer, I guess, personally. Just because of the fact that sometimes all of this additional junk for when it comes to just labeling, I guess, your city districts, also just being able to get rid of some of the topography lines and getting rid of grid systems and all that kind of stuff, I think is super useful. And being able to clean up the game, and all you do is you can simply click on this. That cleans up the F, at least for me, this is the default, cleans up a lot of the topography lines. E gets rid of the contouring lines. F is the zoning grids, sorry. D is going to be border lines for each little square that you have. C is going to get rid of district icons. B is district names. And then last but not least, A is my favorite one. It gets rid of all of these pesky notifications. Sometimes you have parts of your city that you just can't seem to really clean up when it comes to whatever it might be. Maybe some of these is a bad example. These people dying, I really probably should just plop something. But for instance, when you build a really large farm and you just can't seem to get these idiots to go ahead and talk to their neighbors, where this idiot says not enough raw material, while this idiot right here says not enough buyers for products. Go ahead and push this and just get everyone to shut up, knowing that this thing will operate just fine as it is. So that is Toggle It. The next mod that we have is Network Extensions. Network Extensions adds a boatload of different types of roads for you, which is incredibly helpful, especially at the beginning of the game and just needing more selections for roads basically. Depending on how you're playing and if you are bypassing the achievements, this can be extremely useful in just having some more road selections, things like the basic road with painted medians, and many more that give you just a little more option for your industrial builds and residential builds, and just having I guess more pieces to the puzzle, right? And especially with highway, this gives you more highway pieces, like 4-lane national highways where it's 2 lanes each direction, or even you have 3-lane asymmetric highways where you have 1 lane in one direction and 2 in the opposite. And you can also do this for some of your smaller interior roads. So Network Extensions is a huge help at the beginning of the game to just give you more road selections, and try not to get overwhelmed with it. but experiment with it because a lot of these lanes can be super useful. Next mod on our list is the Auto Bulldoze. Auto Bulldoze, when you click on the bulldoze button, you can go ahead and turn this on or off, but what this will do is just automatically demolish any sort of abandoned or burnt down buildings. Personally, I find this super useful because of the fact that abandoned buildings can become a nuisance in the city. I find it personally unnecessary, especially when you get a city this large of 100k plus, to go around and constantly have to try and delete buildings yourself all the time. This is extremely helpful in getting it so that way you don't have to do that. Just make sure that if you do turn this mod on, that you are paying attention to at least the notifications and why the homes are going abandoned, just because this mod will cause your weekly income to drop significantly if you are not paying attention as to why the buildings are going abandoned. So definitely useful. Helps just a little aspect of the game that personally I don't really care to deal with, but yeah, definitely helpful, so then that way you do not have to meticulously go around and constantly delete buildings yourself. The next mod on our list is the Zoning tool. The Zoning tool, and what it does, you can find it located in the roads section, and it says toggle zoning update. What this does is it allows you to select what roads you want to allow the game to actually zone on, so you can reallocate that space to another area. The way that this is useful is, for instance, if you have collector roads or arterial roads that you plan on not using and you want everyone off of the smaller roads basically, then you can see that there's all of this space right here that the game wants to use this area as basically and zone it to this collector road. So then what you're doing is you're limiting or prohibiting yourself from being able to build larger buildings in these areas, and what you're left with is smaller homes that you are building basically. So you can go in here, turn on the zoning tool, go ahead and turn everything off, and now you'll see that this one home that was originally just this small little, I don't know, 4x4 by 2x2 can now fit a fully loaded house, and we can actually get the full maximum 4x4 home in there. So the zoning tool, extremely useful. You can also in here go ahead and select if you want the roads that you are building to go ahead and be zoned to default or not. What this means is if you are turning it on, and let's just say you are building out your next section, then whether you want these roads that you are now building to actually be zonable or not, go ahead and click on that default, and now you'll see that you are back in here. So it just removes one additional step when building out a new section of town that will help you in just kind of speeding things up if you are really going for residential packing, if you're just designing your collectors and arterial roads. Last but not least, the very last mod that I have that I find incredibly useful is the instant return to desktop mod. What this does is it allows you pretty much exactly what it says, is sometimes, especially when you have a game like mine where you have quite a few mods installed, the instant return to desktop is going to allow you, when you click on return to desktop, instead of watching Mr. Useless Tweety Bird spin in circles here for 5 minutes, when you click on this, it'll go ahead and close out the game and return to your desktop instantly while the game goes and closes in the background for you. So then that way you do not need to look at a loading screen. Otherwise, you guys, that is everything that I have for the top 10 mods that personally I think has greatly improved the gameplay for me. Otherwise, you guys, be sure to like and subscribe. I definitely appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think. And be sure to also check out the Tech Brews Games podcast. The Tech Brews Games podcast you can find on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google, and many more. Otherwise, be sure to check out our other videos on City Skylines. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.